Have you ever thought about how nice individuals can commit evil acts? You know, individuals that are good, moral, and honest, how do they cross the line into something awful? Though difficult, we must pose this inquiry. Imagine a person you respect gradually becoming someone you recognize. What causes this? Is it the circumstances? The individuals nearby? What in us allows us to go into darkness? Though not easy, the solution is crucial. Knowing why good individuals undertake evil acts could enable us to see the indicators in our own life and in others. It's not only about knowing others, it's about knowing ourselves. Might we too be affected by the incorrect powers? Might we be driven to act in ways we would never think? In the next few minutes, you will learn about the hidden elements influencing human behavior, the times when good intentions become errors, and how we may resist them. This is about knowing how to safeguard yourself from the same traps, not only about learning history. Stay with me, since this might alter your perspective on the world and your role in it. You will never again view human nature the same way. We sometimes think that good people act well and terrible people act badly. Isn't it easy? Looking closer though, we find the border between good and evil is not so obvious. It's actually far thinner than we believe. Many of the worst crimes in history were committed by those who weren't naturally wicked. They were simply regular folks caught up in the incorrect conditions. Consider it. Think about it. People who stood by quietly while others suffered, or who performed terrible things during war, didn't start out as monsters. They were simply ordinary folks. What made them different? How can we stop ourselves from being affected by the same powers? The Lucifer effect is relevant here. It's the concept that some circumstances and responsibilities can drive decent people to do bad things. It's not about being naturally evil. Rather, it's about what happens when we are placed in the appropriate or inappropriate circumstances. And we all have to grasp this. Psychologist Philip Zimbardo originally presented the Lucifer effect. Best renowned for the Stanford Prison Experiment, he demonstrated how rapidly normal, nice individuals might become abusive under others' control. While the inmates were driven to great stress and powerlessness, the guards in his study become harsh. It occurred so quickly. What caused this? Zimbardo came to the opinion that our behavior may be warped by power and authority. It's easy to forget our principles and lose our sense of compassion when we are assigned roles, especially those where we manage others. The study revealed exactly how much individuals would fit the roles assigned to them, even when those roles caused harm to others. Everyday life operates under the same dynamics. Have you ever, even if they didn't sit well with you, followed orders at work? Perhaps it was a supervisor advising you to overlook a colleague's emotions or to conceal a mistake. You might have done it without thinking, simply because you were instructed to. Consider what transpires in groups. Don't we all want to fit in? That is why we adhere to the group standards. We fit, and in doing so, we could overlook our own values. The group's ideals might eclipse our own and help us to rationalize actions we would not otherwise take. We refer to this as social influence. It is strong and affects our actions. Often, it enables us to work with people and get along, but it can also take us down a perilous road. With past tragedies, people dehumanized others rather than simply following commands. When we cease to view someone as human, we find it simpler to hurt them. Looking back on history makes the instances obvious. The guards at concentration camps, troops waging war, committing atrocities, and even onlookers who did nothing. They weren't born wicked, influenced by the force around them. They were normal individuals, trapped in exceptional situations. They joined a system that dehumanized others and hence lost their capacity for compassion. Consider how this appears now. The language we use still shows dehumanization. We label others, for example, the enemy or a threat. Once we do that, it is really simple to rationalize injuring people or ignoring their suffering. We have to question ourselves. How frequently do we allow this to occur? How frequently do we generalize someone, so facilitating our neglect of their humanity? The heart of the issue is this. If we want to end the cycle of damage, we also have to handle this. Recognizing the factors at work is the first step. Stopping them depends on knowing how power, dehumanization, and social influence operate. But it goes further than that. Have you ever considered what actually motivates our decisions, even when we know something could be incorrect? Stay to find how easy factors could take us off course. Obedience to authority is another strong influence on human behavior. Let us now investigate this one. This is among the key drivers for average people to behave contrary to their usual behavior. We have all experienced it. Usually, we don't dispute someone in authority asking us to act. Though their orders seem unethical, we simply follow them. Psychologist Stanley Milgram conducted one of the most well-known research on topic in the 1960s. Participants in his study were instructed to give electric shocks to someone appearing to be in agony. The shocks began modest, but fast grew in severity. An official urged the participants to keep giving the shocks even as the individual on the other end yelled in pain. Shockingly, several of the volunteers persisted, even when they thought they were inflicting great damage. What motivated them to go on? The solution is in the strength of power. Those who issued orders were viewed as having reasonable authority. The attendees ignored them. They thought it was okay, since the power figure ordered them to do so. Focusing entirely on following commands, they grew cut off from the repercussions of their deeds. Consider your own existence. How frequently do we follow directions without first doubting them? Often, we simply do what we're taught, whether from a job, a school, or even society standards. After all, it's simpler that way. But that's when the risk lies, when we stop thinking critically and just follow. The Milgram study showed this. The subjects were more concerned with following authority than with the ethicality of their actions. It wasn't only a handful of outliers. The bulk did this. This emphasizes how much power authority may have in influencing conduct, particularly when it contradicts personal conscience. So, what does this imply for us? It's a reminder that even if those orders contradict our beliefs, we must be conscious of the circumstances where we are merely following orders. Though we don't have to let their power over us dictate our behavior, authority personalities can certainly affect us greatly. This brings us to another element, dehumanization. Seeing people as less than human makes it far simpler to defend damaging conduct. Used throughout history, in battle, propaganda, and even in daily disputes, this strategy is one of several. Reducing someone to a label or stereotype causes us to stop seeing them as a person. We view them as the other, the enemy, or a threat. Should you find these ideas useful, I strongly advise seeing another video, Machiavelli's Advice for Nice Guys. You will discover in it how excessive niceness could occasionally have bad effects and how striking a balance between kindness and strength can really enable you. Anyone wanting to create better relationships and impact others in a more efficient manner should see this. Consider how we utilize language in our everyday life. How frequently do we label whole groups of individuals? We could say something like, "They're all the same," or "They're dangerous." Doing this causes us to cease viewing others as individuals with their own experiences and feelings. Rather, we lower individuals to a stereotype or a group. Once we do this, it becomes far simpler to overlook their agony. In our view, they are no longer completely human. Therefore, we cease caring what happens to them. And there is the risk, whether physically, emotionally, or psychologically. Dehumanization facilitates the harm of others. It's a strategy to defend violence and brutality. Now, consider this in the context of today. How frequently do we treat others as less than human? It may be as easy as calling someone who disagrees with us stupid or ignorant. It could also be more significant, calling an entire group of individuals terrorists or criminals. Doing this robs them of their humanity and helps us to mistreat them. How then can we fight this? Empathy is the answer. Empathy is the capacity to grasp and relate to another person's emotions. Dehumanizing people becomes far more difficult when we really view them as human beings with their own aspirations, anxieties, and goals. Empathy is therefore a crucial weapon in the battle against the Lucifer effect. Empathy lets us view people as equals. It enables us to grasp their agony and suffering, hence justifying their harm less. Empathy has to be developed if we are to end the cycle of dehumanization. Every person has their own narrative. We must thus remind ourselves of this and try to see things from their perspective. But just being sympathetic is insufficient. we must also fight back. When we witness dehumanization occurring, when we see injustice, we must rise up. Though not always simple, it is required. We must be ready to question the systems and institutions enabling this. Social influence returns into play here. We have to design settings where fairness, compassion, and kindness are the standards. Surrounding ourselves with like-minded individuals makes it easy to act with honesty. It's about holding ourselves responsible as well as avoiding negative habits in others. One choice at a time. We all have a part to play in building a more fair society. What results from being instructed to follow orders, even when it seems unethical? Prepare to grasp the strength of authority and the reasons we sometimes comply with it, even when it conflicts with our beliefs. Having examined dehumanization, obedience, and authority, let us discuss the power of social roles. Though it may seem easy, the roles we assume in life can significantly affect our behavior and perception of others. These roles have expectations, whether it's a parent, a teacher, an employer, or even a friend. Adopting them sometimes leads us to behave in line with those expectations, even if it means sacrificing our own principles. Should you find these ideas useful, I strongly advise seeing another video, Machiavelli's Advice for Nice Guys. You will discover in it how excessive niceness could occasionally have bad effects, and how striking a balance between kindness and strength can really enable you. Anyone wanting to create better relationships and affect others more efficiently should see this. Psychologist Philip Zimbardo discovered in his studies that social roles have amazing ability to warp human behavior. The Stanford Prison Experiment shown how fast individuals may slide into the roles of guard or prisoner and start behaving far from their normal personalities. While the inmates grew subservient and withdrawn, the guards turned abusive. The participants hardly identified what was going on, given how quickly this occurred. Caught up in the roles assigned to them, they lost their personal identity in the process. The roles we play every day impact us not only in experiments, but also in many other ways. Consider your behavior in various contexts. You may be more formal and task-oriented when at work. When you are at home, you could be more laid back and playful. Often without your knowledge, the expectations of these positions influence your conduct. The trouble is, however, that occasionally the roles we play could drive us to act contrary to our usual behavior. Consider, say, a boss who could abuse staff members severely to achieve corporate objectives. The need to deliver could cause the management to overlook their compassion and principles and concentrate on the immediate work. In the long run, this might be immoral. People taking roles and actions that contradict their principles runs in families, businesses, and schools. How can we stop ourselves from becoming lost in these duties? Awareness is where it all begins. The first step is to realize the strength of social roles and to know how they affect our behavior. We have to be aware of when a role defines us. Are we turning into the overly harsh boss, the friend who should remain silent, the overbearing parent? Once we understand our part, we can question ourselves. Is this how I wish to behave? Breaking free from the roles society or our surroundings has imposed on us is not always simple. Awareness helps us to start changing our behavior, though. We might decide to behave not only in line with others' expectations, but also in line with our own principles. That's when moral bravery enters the picture. Moral bravery is the capacity to act correctly even when it is challenging. It's sticking up for what you believe in, even if it means opposing the majority. It's about choosing correctly even when it's difficult or dangerous. This distinguishes individuals who speak out against injustice from those who remain silent. Consider past leaders such as Rosa Parks. Like everyone else, she might have remained sat on the bus. Instead, she decided to stand up for what was right. She was morally brave. Believing it was the proper thing to do, she was ready to suffer the repercussions of her deeds. The same is true for whistleblowers revealing government or corporate malfeasance. Even when it entails personal loss, they sacrifice all to do what is right. Moral courage is not natural. Rather, it is something we may cultivate. It begins with knowing your values. What matters to you? Is it truthfulness, equity, empathy? Knowing your fundamental values helps you to use them as a compass throughout trying decisions. Knowing what matters most helps you to choose in line with your values. Mental rehearsal is another technique to develop moral courage. This is the technique of picturing oneself in challenging circumstances and considering how you would react. Mentally rehearse the scenario ahead. If you know you could be tempted to follow the crowd, or if you're unclear about what the correct course of action is, this helps one to act when the time comes. Finally, creating a support network is absolutely vital. Surround yourself with others who share your beliefs and who will inspire you to act appropriately. A solid support system makes it simpler to fight the conformity pressure. Knowing you have someone who will assist you will help you to act more honestly. Moral bravery is about the little, daily decisions we make as much as about major deeds. Every time we decide to do the correct thing, even when it is difficult, we increase more moral bravery, and eventually, this helps to counteract the bad influences guiding us down a perilous road. Might the parts we play in life drive us to behave against our wishes? We're about to look at how other people's expectations can influence our conduct in ways we might not even be aware of. Having discussed the need of moral bravery and knowledge of social roles, let us now address resilience. Resilience is the capacity to recover when we encounter obstacles, to carry on even under trying circumstances. It's a main quality in fighting the pressures driving us toward immoral behavior or moral collapse. Resilience is essential. Without it, one may easily become disheartened, give up, or compromise their principles under trying circumstances. Resilience is not a guarantee that you will not experience anxiety, uncertainty, or annoyance. It means you keep choosing things that fit your ideals despite those emotions. It's about maintaining your integrity regardless of the pressure you experience. Resilience is first developed via self-awareness. You have to identify your triggers, those circumstances that make you susceptible to surrendering. Perhaps it's personal insecurities, a demanding job, or peer pressure. Understanding these triggers helps you to act to guard yourself against them. For instance, if you know you often follow the herd, when in doubt, you may remind yourself of your beliefs before choosing. Self-awareness keeps you grounded and stops you from making decisions you'll later regret. Mental fortitude is another essential component of resilience. This is the capacity to remain goal-oriented even under unfavorable circumstances. It's about going on and pushing past obstacles. You need not be flawless. What counts is that you keep attempting. Every failure presents a chance to learn. Failing is acceptable if you grow from it, and it doesn't define you. Consider those who have experienced significant life obstacles. Many of them failed the first, second, and even third times, yet they persisted. They kept moving ahead, growing along the road and learning from their errors. Resilience at its core is this. It's about your reaction to it, not about avoiding failure. Apart from tenacity, we also have to discuss self-forgiveness. Everyone makes errors. Nobody is flawless. It's crucial not to be too tough on ourselves when we fail. Self-forgiveness is the capacity to recognize our errors, accept responsibility, and then go on with clarity and purpose. Self-forgiveness is not justifying bad conduct. It implies knowing we are human, and that part of being human includes error. Forgiving oneself frees us from guilt and humiliation, hence enabling us to develop and improve. Staying trapped in regret prevents us from progressing. Forgiving oneself, however, allows us room for growth and knowledge. Reflection is the path to self-forgiveness. Consider what went wrong, what you might have done better, and what you can take away from the event. Then, release the bad feelings and concentrate on how you may improve the following time. This helps you to fight the draw of darkness that usually accompanies errors and to keep developing. While we still look at ways to avoid the Lucifer effect, we also have to take community into account. We need not confront difficulties by ourselves. Building resilience depends on being around by those who share your values. When you want to give up, a good support network can help you stay focused. When you need it most, they can provide a new viewpoint, support, and counsel. A support network also helps to hold you responsible, knowing that others are watching and that they want you to live by the ideals you say to hold makes it easier to act with integrity. Resisting the pressures driving us toward unethical conduct depends on this responsibility. Our community's impact is really great. The individuals we surround ourselves with shape us. Being among folks who behave honestly makes it simpler for us to do the same. On the other hand, being around people who justify poor conduct makes it more difficult for us to remain faithful to our principles. That is the reason selecting the appropriate individuals to include in your life is so crucial. We also have to teach others and ourselves. Knowledge is a strong weapon against moral disengagement and manipulation. Understanding history, psychology, and the factors influencing human behavior helps us to be more conscious of how these forces could influence us. Knowing more helps us to better identify when negative factors are affecting us. Teaching others helps us to build a society that respects compassion and honesty. Ultimately, the conflict between good and evil is one fought inside each of us, not one between nations or people. Every day, we choose things that define our identity and the environment around us. The correct tools, resilience, self-forgiveness, community, and education will help us to choose in line with our beliefs and help to build a more kind society. Staying loyal to oneself depends on resilience. But how do we remain strong when everything around us appears to drag us off course? Keep looking for easy ways to increase that strength. Having studied the factors influencing human behavior, you should now act. Consider the decisions you make daily. Are they in line with your values? Consider how you might improve your family, your job, or your town. Should you find value in this video, have a look at Machiavelli's Advice for Nice Guys. It is a strong film that illustrates how occasionally being too polite could have negative effects. Watching will help you to negotiate difficult circumstances and strike a balance between kindness and strength. Anyone wanting to strengthen relationships and impact should see it.